everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm super excited to do because I am going to be talking about shopping your stash. I'm going to be talking about what is shopping your stash, how to shop your stash, why you should shop your stash. All of those things. So let's go ahead and get started. So I am so excited for this video. You guys know how much I enjoy shopping my stash. I really love watching videos dedicated to shopping your stash. I have discovered so many of my favorite YouTubers through that style video. And honestly, I cannot get enough of it. I think it's so much fun. So let's go into what is shopping your stash. So shopping your stash is basically exactly that. It is shopping through your makeup collection that's already existing. So you're shopping through your primers, foundations, powders, concealers, eyeshadow palettes, and selecting a product from each of those categories for that specific week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even a month. Getting into that is completely up to you and your collection and your preferences. So if you're someone who wants to have a shop my stash rotation for 1 week because you like to switch things up, maybe you have a larger collection and you want to be able to get through multiple items in your collection, then yeah, do it for 1 week. If you feel that 1 week isn't enough because maybe you don't wear makeup every day, 2 weeks might be more ideal for you. Some people even do up to a month because again, they feel like the 1 or 2 weeks isn't really enough to get use out of everything that you selected for that shop my stash rotation. So just keep that in mind, that there is no set time frame on how your shop my stash should be. It's completely up to you and your collection, your makeup preferences, and just you in general. And it's gonna take trial and error as well. So keep that in mind. Don't feel discouraged if you set your time frame for 1 week and you just feel like you can't get through everything, then change it up, do it for 2 weeks. I will say I used to do them weekly and I kind of ran into that problem where I felt like I couldn't really get through everything that was in that rotation. So I switched it up to 2 weeks, and I actually think 2 weeks is kind of my sweet spot. I really do like it. I feel like I get a really solid amount of use out of each product within those 2 weeks, and it's probably what I'll continue doing on my channel. I'll also link down below my shop my stash playlist. I do have tons of shop my stash videos on my channel, so if you are wanting to see a shop my stash in action, then definitely check out that playlist down below. Excuse the ones that are filmed very, very early on. And so just keep that in mind. But yes, I love shopping my stash. That is kind of how you do it. I will say that it doesn't matter the size of your collection, except maybe if you have a very, very small collection. So maybe if you only have one foundation, one eyeshadow palette, one powder, you probably are getting enough use out of your collection at that point that you probably don't see a need to shop your stash. But you can have a very small collection where maybe you only have a couple of foundations, or maybe you have about 5 eyeshadow palettes and you can still shop your stash because you have enough products to rotate out each time. So just keep that in mind. If you're someone who only has like 5 makeup products, you're probably getting use out of a lot of those makeup products already that you may not benefit per se from shopping your stash. Getting into why you should shop your stash. So shopping your stash, I think, is a really great way to make sure that you are getting use out of your makeup collection. There's so many times that I gravitate towards the same products. Maybe a favorite foundation, I just want to keep using it, or a concealer. And then sometimes I really get into this rut with eyeshadow palettes, where eyeshadow palettes are probably, besides lip products, the category in my collection that I have the most of. And I can totally neglect eyeshadow palettes very easily because I have my favorites. So I think shopping your stash is a great way to make sure that you're getting use out of your makeup collection, that you're getting use out of your products, but also that you're getting refamiliarized with your stuff. So let's say you have an eyeshadow palette in your collection that you haven't used in like a year. Like, trust me, I have one of those. I'm embarrassed about it, but I do. I have palettes in my collection that I haven't used for a year. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's why I shop my stash. Because I want to rediscover favorites. I want to refamiliarize myself with my products. Another reason you should shop your stash is just to spark creativity. So if you're someone who kind of gets into a rut with your makeup collection, or especially if you're the person that you get bored with your stuff, so you go out and buy new stuff, while that's fun, you know, and it's really fun to go out and buy new makeup and play with new things, eventually that's going to become the new bored product, like the boring product. So you never want to get into the cycle or habit of just like purchasing new makeup because you're bored with your current stuff. And I think if that's you, it's a really good opportunity for you to start shopping your stash. And maybe, just maybe, you know, once you start shopping your stash for a couple of months, you'll really start discovering how much you love your collection, or the opposite. Maybe you discover, wow, there's not a lot in my collection that I actually love, and that's fine too. I think that's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about, that there will be times when you shop your stash that you're not gonna like what you have, and that's fine, because sometimes things don't work for us, depending on our skin type. If you have oily, dry, combo, normal skin, some products are gonna work better than others, and some products are not gonna work for us, and that's fine. It's very, very rare that everything in your makeup collection you're gonna like, because that's just nearly impossible, because not every product is made for you exactly. So I think that's totally fine that you don't like certain things in your collection after shopping your stash. And I think at that point, kind of taking a step back, maybe decluttering, but remember, don't declutter just to start the cycle of purchasing a lot all over again. Maybe declutter a little at a time. Maybe declutter one product a month or every 2 months or something like that. So now those are the reasons why that you should shop your stash. I've also covered how to shop your stash and what is shopping your stash. So now, actually, I didn't cover how to shop your stash. Now let's cover how to shop your stash. So how to shop your stash. And again, I will link my Shop My Stash playlist down below so that you can check it out and try, just kind of see how I do it. But what I like to do is I just like to go through, I have my IKEA drawers here, and each drawer has a category of makeup. So my first drawer has my primers and foundations. My second drawer has more foundations and concealers and cream products and things like that. So I like to go through each category in my collection and pick basically one from each category. Depending on how long you choose your time frame can determine maybe how many products you bring in that specific rotation. So if you, let's say you want to do it for 2 weeks, you might benefit from bringing in 2 foundations at a time. Or if you don't have very many foundations in your collection, then maybe just bringing in the one will be enough. For eyeshadow, I will say it gets a little bit difficult, especially if you're new to shopping your stash, to bring in multiple eyeshadow palettes into a rotation, because you get in that rut of you only use one and then you neglect the others that you brought in, or you are just so overwhelmed by the amount of eyeshadow you have to use within the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks that you don't even like use them. So, and you gravitate for other things. So just keep that in mind. I tend to only bring in like 1 or 2 palettes each rotation, because I want to get used out of my palettes. I want to feel encouraged to use my palettes. So I just like to go through each category and pick a product from each category. And depending on like maybe, because I usually have a project pan going or something going on the side where I'm wanting to focus on like one single item. And so I'll bring in another item just so that I don't get, you know, burnt out of that one item, if that makes sense. So anyways, that's kind of how to shop your stash. Now, the next thing I would say is like how to stay motivated with it. And this is the hardest thing, because I would think that if you're someone who gets easily bored with your collection or easily bored with, you know, not purchasing new things and things like that, then I would recommend sparking your creativity. And so how you can do this is a great way to do it, and I've done it before and I miss doing it, is basically having a random number generator choosing your makeup products for you for that specific Shop My Stash rotation. So what I would recommend, this is very time consuming, especially if you have a large collection, but it's totally worth it, is it's an app called Choose For Me. And basically what you can do is you can go in and enter in all of your products. And once you have all of your products, so under primers, I have all of my primers. Under foundations, I have all of my foundations. Under eyeshadow palettes, I have all of my eyeshadow palettes. And once you have all of that filled out, then you can basically click on Choose For Me, and it picks the foundation for you, it picks a primer for you, it picks a blush for you. And that is a great way, in my opinion, to make sure that you're getting use out of everything in your collection and not neglecting certain items, but also so that it sparks your creativity, because you have no idea what you're going to be getting. And I think that's fun. It can be challenging, especially whenever it comes to like products that tend to like match one another. So for instance, like sometimes it's really scary to get a lip product chosen for you and an eyeshadow palette because you want something that's going to match. But I think that's part of the fun, and that's part of the like sparking creativity part of it. The way that you can spark creativity and do something similar to what I was just going over is using random.org. And so instead of going in and writing down, although this is kind of the same thing, it's just you wouldn't be using the app. Basically random.org, what I was going to say is you could write down all, let's say you have 10 eyeshadow palettes. So writing down all 10 of your eyeshadow palettes and then naming them. So like one would be the Urban Decay Naked Honey, two would be, I don't know, Melt Gemini or something, and you would just name all of these 1 through 10, and then in the random.org generator you would just basically put 1 through 10, you'd hit generate, and then if it gives you number 6, oh okay, that's the Naked Cherry, that's the palette I'm going to be using this week. So that's another way that you can do it, but honestly at the end of the day that's kind of similar to what I was just saying, using the Choose For Me app, because regardless you're going to have to be writing down your like the actual names of the products, if that makes sense. But I think that's a really fun way to spark creativity, to just kind of get like re-motivated to shop your stash, especially whenever you have done it for a little while and you're starting to get in a rut. But I believe that's everything. I just wanted to kind of go over some tips and just kind of a little bit about what shopping my stash is, and if I'd recommend it, which I do 100% recommend it. I think it is so much fun. I really do feel like when I shop my stash and when I'm solely focusing on the products that I brought in for that shop my stash rotation, I really get familiarized with my products. I re-fall in love with them. I rediscover favorites. I just get a lot of use out of my products overall. For instance, right now I have the ABH Sultry palette in my current rotation because this is actually a palette that's part of my Dusty Palettes project. And I have used this so many times already this rotation. I've used this one, I wanna say like 3 or 4 times, and I've loved every single look that I've came up with this one. And this was honestly a palette that I was considering decluttering because I was just never gravitating towards it. But now that it's in my Shop My Stash and now that I'm pushing myself to use it, I have just really fallen in love with it again and realized that this is really a palette that I do enjoy. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. I just wanted to provide some tips, recommendations, what shopping my stash is, and I really hope that you will subscribe. I'm trying to post every day until December 25th or until Christmas. I hope you're enjoying Vlogmas, and I hope that you are taking care and enjoying your holiday season. So I will go ahead and see you in my next video. Bye!